Hello, today with us we have a very special guest, Ryan Boder, DAO core team lead at API3. Now, API3 is a collaborative project to deliver traditional API services to smart contract platforms in a decentralized and trust-minimized way. It is governed by a decentralized autonomous organization, namely the API3 DAO. Ryan, thank you so much for stopping by, taking the time out of your schedule to drop by and having a chat. I'm going to just jump in. API stands for Application Programming Interface, but what does the number 3 stand for in the API 3?
Sure, it's actually as simple as you can imagine. So our mission is to connect the API economy on Web 2 to blockchain-based Web 3. So API 3 just means APIs on Web 3. It's as simple as it gets, but it's actually a pretty descriptive and perfect name for what we're doing.
And what problems does API 3 solve, and what makes API 3 unique?
So there's a problem that everybody likes to talk about called the Oracle problem, the blockchain Oracle problem, which basically means, you've got this isolated, decentralized platform for smart contracts, the blockchain, and it can't communicate with anything else. It can't communicate with the outside world or the real world. And so the Oracle problem is what we call this problem of having like an all-knowing being that can kind of send messages back and forth between the two. What API 3 has done is said, well, the Oracle problem is incredibly difficult or maybe even impossible to solve. It's too complex. Really what we need is just for smart contracts to be able to call APIs. And so API 3 has taken a different approach to the Oracle problem and said, we're going to solve what we call the API connectivity problem. Very similar, except we are more practical than like what you would think of as a traditional Oracle solution. And we are just like laser focused on getting APIs connected to smart contracts and then making data feeds available to smart contracts based on those APIs.
And what would you say is the API3 Alliance?
An API is basically a business or a service that's being hosted via the web that a client can connect to and make requests and get responses back. The API3 Alliance is our team or group of API providers that are committed to providing APIs to Web3 using API3 technology. So the API3 Alliance is the largest alliance of API providers in Web3. It's something that we launched last year. The last I checked, we had over 150 members, people that were providing APIs into Web3. I stopped counting after that, but it's pretty sizable and it's pretty diverse, which is really neat because traditionally most of the data that's being served into smart contracts is just price data. Usually it's crypto token price or some other sort of price that's used to build derivatives from. And we do that. API 3 certainly provides that type of information, but it also provides a lot more diverse new types of data, new types of off-chain services to Web3. So the API 3 Alliance is kind of the heart and soul of what makes API 3 different and more powerful on Web3.
Jumping on to the next question, what are the beacons and AirNode in the API 3 system?
Beacons, and actually what I'd like to do is generalize that and just call them data feeds. Beacons are a type of data feed that we provide. So when you make an API request, when a smart contract makes an API request, with traditional APIs, they're going to send a request, wait, and then get a response back. Data feeds, or what we call DAPIs, is one type of our data feed that we offer, and beacons is another type. But data feeds are where you've got some information that's so widely demanded or so important on Web3 that you're going to have like a continuous service just pushing that data on chain rather than making all the smart contracts make individual requests and say, hey, I'd like the price of this token. We're just going to keep, say Bitcoin, for example. We're just going to keep pushing the price of Bitcoin on chain, and then any smart contract can read that value and get the most up-to-date value for what the response would have been in the API. So API 3 data feeds are built on top of our basic APIs, and it's just sort of an off-chain service that automates the process of making those requests for you, so you can just read the current value as a smart contract rather than having to make the request and wait for the response.
So I'm going to be jumping further on. How would you say, how is API 3 governed?
API 3 is a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. We're one of the larger DAOs in Web3, and we've been kind of a trailblazer in certain ways among DAOs. But the DAO governance means that it is community governed. It's sort of a permissionless way to govern a project. So instead of having like a top-down command and control, CEO dictates everything type environment, it's more flat, it's more open, it's more free-flowing for like new ideas and potential like growth opportunities. And I guess the most important thing is it's more fair. So it's a way to enable or to sort of facilitate fairness among governance. Everybody who's a token holder, everybody who holds the API3 token has the opportunity to stake their token in the API3 DAO and participate in governance. And so the DAO is it's a pretty new and exciting way that projects are governing themselves, but the API3 DAO is really the core way that we make decisions. We decide how treasury funds are distributed through the DAO.
And of course, last but not least, how do API3 plan to scale?
The API3 software, and you'll see on our website, the software is called AirNode. So AirNode is the open source Oracle node software that first party or that API providers can run on their own. We call those first party oracles when the API provider itself is running the Oracle node that's putting data on chain or connecting their service to the smart contract. The first party oracles are incredibly scalable by nature because there's no bottleneck in the middle. It's a one-to-one mapping between the API provider and the Oracle node. So we don't have to have, say, a middleman Oracle node operator that has to then be in the loop and be willing to connect that API and be willing to serve that data to Web3. If an API provider wants to connect to Web3, they can essentially do it themselves. In fact, one of our most recent announcements was an ecosystem project called Chain API that launched. And Chain API is a website that you can go to as an API provider, and it's like a self-serve, no code required way to integrate your APIs with AirNode to Web3. So it provides you the ability to just log in, go through, enter in your API details, your security information and everything. And then you can just deploy your AirNode directly to your AWS or Google Cloud Platform environment. And it's sort of a self-serve way to just connect yourself to Web3. So I guess you could say API3 is more scalable and more efficient because of the elimination of the middleman.
Wow. Ryan, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time for stopping by for this quick chat and speaking with you. Thank you so much for tuning in on this episode. Make sure you check out all of our social medias. Stay up to date, okay? And I'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.